My first step then is to take, I'm going to right mouse on the cube and take the face at the top here and hit R and scale that to represent roughly the width of the rib cage and depth of it at the manubrium. The next thing I'll do is I'll come up to my top thing here, my perspective view, pick the bottom and scale that a little bit more as well. Okay, so now I'm getting closer. Problem is I really don't want to scale the height, so I'll just scale the left and right dimension for now, so that the bottom of the base of the cube is more consistent with my diagram here. Let me just increase just for a little bit the alpha here so you can see this a little better. There we go. We'll lock that again or change it to reference. Okay, so now my cube has its width at the top and the bottom a little more consistent, but I need something here, right? So let's see. Sometimes you can come here where it says input. And if you've done too much alteration and you use the input, the software won't understand it. It will do a real goofy, a real bad representation. See, like that. So what I have to do instead now is go under Mesh Tools and say Insert Edge Loop, and that lets me come down to about where there. Now when I said Insert Edge Loop, it put an edge. Let's change this up here so you can see it better. X-ray. It put an edge, a loop. It looped the entire cube, see, on all four sides. So now if I come down here and I say right mouse edge and I double click that edge, now I have all four. So it's very important that you always use several views to make sure you've selected what you think you have. It's easy to think you've selected something in the front view and then not realize that what you selected is not correct or you're missing other parts. And since these image planes really aren't any value to me in the perspective view, I'm going to turn them, I'm going to take them out of this show. So I went under show, image planes. Anything that's selected here is obviously showing, and now they're not. So I can now hit the R tool, and from the front view I can scale that edge, and I pick that level because generally level of the sixth rib is considered to be the widest part. So from the anterior view you can see I now have the width matching the drawing better, but from the side view you notice I still need to create a little more width at this level. The other thing we know is that the ribs start higher posteriorly, start superiorly posteriorly, and then curve down or curve inferiorly as they go anterior, and then pop back up as the cartilage connects to either other cartilage or the sternum. So I'm going to hit the E for rotate and rotate that middle line I just made so that it parallels a little bit more that angle of the rib cage. And I'm going to right mouse and say face and try to get that top face, and again from the side view rotate it so that it, just the top face, rotate it. Now when I'm using the rotate tool, you notice I'm just using one color. I'm not going to the middle. If I go to this big blue circle, it will rotate in all three axes at once. But what I'm doing instead is I'm only using one of the circles so that I'm restricting the rotation exclusively, in this case, just to the x-axis. That helps keep things more correctly organized. Now the bottom plane has the same problem, so I'll select, I still have faces, So I'll select that plane and rotate it. And again, you see, I'm going to go to that yellow one, and I'll move it up a little bit too, so that I'm matching the bottom edge of that rib. And obviously there's other things we need to do, but this in some way gets me started. Okay. Now if I hit the number 3, it's going to preview. What that means is, here's what the actual geometry looks like. The number 3 is a preview, which gives me a preview of what the image would look like if I were to render it using the Arnold rendering engine that we'll be using. So it's a little more, it saves me geometry. I could create all this geometry, but it would be very large, the file. By using this preview, I can get an idea what I'm going to get when I render without creating a real thick geometry. So we'll stop here and come back and do more.